Okay. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. We will be reading from a passage from Risale-i Nur. It's the 13th flash from Risale-i Nur collection, which is related to the problem of evil. The chapter starts with, it's about hikmatul isti'aza. It's about the wisdom that is to seek refuge uh, from Satan in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have two panelists today. We have Colin Hojam from Durham, England, and we have Harun Hoja from North Dakota, United States. And we have these two main questions in today's agenda. Why does evil succeed at all? And why is evil created? These are very important questions, crucial questions indeed. In For pretty much all human beings, I have heard these questions phrased by many people, from Muslims, from Christians and Jews, and anybody pretty much. And I have seen and heard people, getting away from religion just because they couldn't find convincing answers to those questions. This has, occupied the minds of many people, intellectuals or anybody seeing, evil things around, especially on the news or in personal lives. People, going away from God and, afflicted with calamities. And so there are so many aspects that needs to be discussed. We will start. I mean, in this 13th flash, there are 13 indications that Ustad Nursi talks about, but we will only be able to, I guess, read and discuss the first two indications. And let's start with the ayah that is mentioned in the beginning of this chapter. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. So this is the verse in the Quran. This is to refrain, to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it says, and say, my Lord, I seek refuge in you from the temptations of the devils, and I seek refuge in you, my Lord, that they even come near me. This is from the Surah Al-Mu'minun, and the verses 97 and 98. And let's start with the first indication, that is a phrased question. So the question goes as follows. Although evil spirits do not interfere in the universe in any way in regard to creation, and through His mercy and favor, Almighty Allah takes the part of the people of truth, and the attractive beauties and virtues of truth and reality strengthen and encourage the people of truth, and the repulsive ugliness of misguidance revolts the people of misguidance. What is the reason for Satan's party, this is also phrased in Quran and Risale Nur, Hizb Shaitan, the Satan's party, very often gaining the upper hand? What is the wisdom in it? And what is the reason for the people of truth always seeking refuge with God from Satan's evil? So this is a question that is quite heavy and loaded question, and it's quite a long question that has many aspects. We will inshallah read the answer, but before, maybe our panelists wants to, uh, unfold the question, and if we may discuss before we move forward. Koyun Hocam, would you like to, express some of your thoughts about the question first?
Welcome to everyone.
Walaikum salam.
It's nice to see everyone back again after a short break. Yeah, the questions at the top before you get to the first indication. I think there's a big problem for us in our tradition that we have this idea that shar is what is known in English as evil. And here the question, if you can go back to it so that we can all see it, if that's possible.
So this is
Okay,
the
yes. No,
Mhm.
before that, the two questions at the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, evil, I don't think, after a long study of it, is, how can I say, a suitable word to describe shar. Um, I'm not sure what evil is. It's the absence of good, and it's not created. So the second question here is a category error. Why
Hmm.
is evil created? It's also a kind of informal logical fallacy because the premise has been put in there secretly, it would seem. Why is evil created? This presumes that evil is a thing, that evil
Hmm.
has an external existence, and it doesn't. Evil doesn't have an external existence. It has an external reality, but it doesn't have an external existence. Now, this may sound like a kind of trivial um, difference, but there is a nuance there. If you look out to sea, you will see that between the sea and the sky, there is a line which we call the horizon.
Hmm.
Now, the horizon has an external reality, but it doesn't have an external existence. You can't touch it. The nearer you get to it, the further it goes away. It doesn't have any kind of external, how can I say, being that is concrete and palpable, and sort of open to sense perception. And evil is exactly the same. Evil is a lack. But evil has a huge cultural weight, which is what I mean, increasingly is pushing me not to use the word evil, because shar actually means damage or harm or injury that is caused by something.
Hmm.
So if we put damage or harm here, that may also mislead, because damage and harm are also relational. Damage and harm are also lacks. They're absences. So
Hmm.
damage is the absence of benefit. Harm is the absence of well-being, all of which are khair. And Allah says in Quran, "Ahsana kulla shay'in khalaqa." He everything that He created, He made it in the best possible way. So
Hmm.
evil is discounted as a thing. Evil is an absence. It's a privation. It's a lack. So you could say that ignorance is the absence of knowledge. You could say that, um, various other attributes, the lack of them can be seen as absences and they're not created. The thing is, why this has persisted, why this idea has persisted that evil is created, is because evil has a reality. So, for example, um, when there is a volcano, for example, on the moon. Imagine there's a volcano on the moon which suddenly explodes.
Hmm.
And I know that's not going to happen, but just use our imaginations. No one would say that anything bad is happening there because there's no one there getting harmed or getting hurt. And
Yeah.
astronomers would look upon it with delight. They would look upon it with a kind of scientific curiosity and they would be amazed by it. But if that same kind of volcano were to erupt in the middle of, near and sort of an urban center, then the loss of life, the damage, the injury, the casualties, the fatalities would all be seen as a result of what they would call natural evil. Now, there is no such thing as natural evil because if a volcano explodes on the moon and no one thinks it's evil when it explodes on Earth and kills people, also that explosion is not evil. The lava that comes down from the volcano is not evil. Even the burning of the bodies is not evil, right? What is evil is our understanding of the relational aspect of that, the damage and the harm and the injury that it causes. And they are not actually um, externally created, they have a reality. Um, but again, they are absences. So I don't want to say that, when I say that Allah says, Ahsana kulla shay'in wa khalaqahu, that doesn't mean that everything is great and there's no such thing as harm or injury. There is, you know. Islam is very realistic. Allah tells us, I'm going to give you hunger, I'm going to give you illness, I'm going to give you death, all of these things. So what we experience as evil is actually the relational results of positive creative acts. There is no source of evil. Allah does not create evil. Allah creates conditions upon which we may suffer, we may know grief, we may know pain, we may know loss, we may know damage, all of these things. So we have to move away from this idea, which is a very unfortunate one, actually, and it exists in our aqidas as well, where it says that Allah created everything and He created evil, but the creation of evil is not evil. I think this is highly misleading, and it may be because those who assert this are actually thinking of the translation of shar, which is damage or injury or those things. So there may be a kind of a bit of a confusion there. But I think this was an important question before we go into the whole issue of evil, an important issue to clear up. Thanks.
Thank you, Kolajam. That's really important introduction for how to understand what evil is. It's really crucial. Thank you so much. Harun Hocam, would you like to say also something about what is evil and how to understand the question here?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Good morning, good evening, everyone, depending
Thank
on the
you.
time zone. Yeah, it's a great warm up with Colin Hojam's assertions. I think part of the difficulty comes from, again, epistemology. We need to stick with a framework, to understand what is meant by evil in the first place. And of course, since I'm not on this expert side of epistemology for this type of topics, except I'm a Risale-i Nur reader, lover, so I would try to put this in through the Ustad's epistemology, which I think reflects also Islamic tradition, looking at the topic. So I especially like this treatise a lot, because it is very fundamental and it goes deeper, right? As we move further, hopefully. But maybe first I start with answering these two questions, at a very high level. Why does evil succeed at all? I think this is related to, actually, I loved your presentation template that has jigsaw puzzles. And I think it looks like evil succeeds when we concentrate on one piece of this jigsaw puzzle. But when we look at the whole, actually, evil does not succeed. Evil becomes a means to goodness, just the opposite. I think it's kind of perception when we look at the parts or when we look at the components. And I loved Karan Hocam mentioned relational. When we look at the relationships, so the things closer to us, which are particulars, they look like, sound like evil, and looks like evil is succeeding. But when we go from to the further relationships of the picture, that means we zoom out. Actually, if we can look at what we have lived in the past, most of us will say that, oh, actually the harm or the catastrophe I had, 10 years back looks like took me to the career I'm in right now, which is I'm in love with, I'm very productive, and it's greatness, it's blessings that I failed at the time. So The short answer is evil succeeds at a particular level or perspective, while in reality it does not succeed at all, because somewhere in the bigger picture it has a place. So that's the first thing. Of course, Ustad will relate. I think you asked this question to summarize the first part, which is related with the easiness of, doing things. We will come to that. But yeah, I think I first answer it like this. And we'll talk about the easiness of being destructive in relation to evil concept. But the second one is more important. Maybe I put it in a little bit different framework than Colin Hocam does, but of course, I think we are meaning the same. What I understand from the evil, actually, it's not the absolute evil, because Ustad uses also the term absolute evil, sherri mas. So if it is not absolute evil, actually, with Ustad's epistemology, what I understand, evil also definitely has some good sides. It's not pure evil, in other words. So nothing is pure evil, we can say, except like Satan. We will come to it. Satan is the pure evil, and obviously it is created for a reason. But here the thing is, when we say evil, actually, it's not 100%. From this, maybe we need to have the perspective of relativeness, because I love, in the second indication, I guess, um, it will be talked about, when somebody just cuts one of our members of our body, we are subject to death, which is kind of evil, or which is kind of non-existence compared to life. So he underlines compared to. So everything is relative to. We talk about ugliness in relation to beauty. We talk about, existence in relation to lacking existence. So everything actually we are understanding is relative. So, and this relativity is a fact, right? Einstein made it in the scientific area, but we can think of relativity in any area, in our metaphysics. Everything is relative, definitely. So, of course, when we say why Allah creates evil, the way I understand it, again with the relationship perspective, it is evil. It can be read as evil, but from another perspective, it is not evil. Like this cutting members of body example, if it's a surgery, it's not evil, because most likely with a reasoning, with a good intention, it's kind of saving the body from kind of relatively worse situation. So what seems evil, actually, it's not pure evil, absolute evil. And we can remember Ustad has some statements like, in the universe, actually, um, higher, or the opposite of evil, is dominating mostly. So, and I can see Said Nursi is very careful about his wordings. Like when he talks about evil, actually, he just goes deeper. The anatomy of evil, it has it's not absolute evil in the first sense, and what makes it evil, actually, the ontology of it, is the non-existence part, which is ademi, the word ademi. I think maybe we need to concentrate on the ademi and vijudi, because these are kind of the building blocks of, goods and evil. When we concentrate on these building blocks, yes, I think there is clear dichotomy. So something is vijudi, then it is good. Something is ademi, then it is shar, or it is evil, I can say. But when we talk about overall evil, it shouldn't be understood as 100% evil. It is relational, it is relative, so that means we cannot come up with concrete explanation. Like, the fire is evil. I can say fire is evil, but from some perspective, it's not ultimate evil, because we can say fire is happening, fire is existing, it is touching more existence than not. I think these are my initial thoughts to flesh out. Yeah.
Thank you, Harun hocam. That's really beneficial. Yeah. So I guess what I have understood from both of your perspective is the main idea here when we talk about evil is its relativity, and it's in relation to humans' perception of what evil is. So if it is harmful for us, uh, for maybe our capricious, perspective, if it is destructive or evil from our perspective, then we call it evil. But otherwise, as you just also mentioned, the fire example, and also Colin Hocam has mentioned, which is very similar, the volcano example, both of which alludes to the idea of how it is related to our perception of what evil is. So going back to the term evil, Colin Hocam suggested using maybe instead of evil, we can come up with maybe harm or destruction, or maybe we can just go with the Arabic term shar in this in this sense. Um, Also, is there a question here? Uh, so there is somebody, Recai Başaran, just stated something. This is the sentence that helps me understand this topic best. The creation of evil is not evil. The acquisition of evil is evil. Uh, so halk-ı şer and kesb-i şer, the difference between the two is, as mentioned by Recai abi. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's also a very important point. So going back to the question here, the first question, let me read it again, and then when we can move on, inshallah. The question is, although evil spirits do not interfere in the universe in any way in regard to creation, and through His mercy, Allah's mercy and favor of Almighty Allah, takes the part of the people of truth. So in this case, the spirits should be weak. They don't have, a physical reality, and Allah takes part of the people of truth, and the attractive beauties and virtues of truth and reality strengthen and encourage the people of truth, and the repulsive ugliness of misguidance revolts the people of misguidance. What is the reason for Satan's party very often gaining the upper hand? I mean, we all know killing somebody is harmful and disgusting, and it's ugly. Any human with a heart would know, as an example, killing somebody is, or stealing something, things like that, or harming anybody in any part, shape, or form is ugly. And everybody has this, feeling inside in their hearts and minds. And also, Allah helps us for us to be guided with the revelation and everything, and in conscience that we have. What is the reason in after all these things? What is the reason? How come Satan's party very often gaining the upper hand? What is the wisdom in it? So if it wasn't the case, it wasn't, Allah orders us to seek refuge in Him from this shar, this misguidance. So if it wasn't powerful, we wouldn't need it, I guess, right? And what is the reason for the people of truth always seeking refuge with Allah from Satan's evil? Do you want to add, Colin Hocam or Harun Hocam, anything on this question, or shall we just move on?
No, I think it's a good question to dwell on a little bit.
Okay,
And Harun also alluded to your use of the jigsaw puzzle here. So if you go up this yellow piece there that you can see on the screen, oh yeah, or those as well, or even the red
here.
one, it doesn't matter. If those absences weren't there, there would be no puzzle.
Yeah.
Those absences are key. They have no external existence. It is the lack of a piece of jigsaw. It's a hole. And if they weren't there, the pieces of the puzzle wouldn't come together. So I think this was a very fortuitously chosen graphic, and Harun already, I think, intuited the fact that, you know, without the holes in a jigsaw puzzle, there is no jigsaw puzzle. So without shar, khair doesn't mean anything. Without shaitan, we have no roadmap for khair. You know, shaitan is the, if you think of a road, an avenue, and there are pavements on either side. In America, you call it sidewalk. Here we call it pavement, but we'll say sidewalk. So there are two sidewalks on one side, one on one side, one on the other side, and then there's a road in the middle. If you think of shaitan and shayateen and shurur, all of these things, they are the sidewalks, right? And without them, we wouldn't know where the road is. Also, we are living in multiplicity, right? There is unity within multiplicity, but in multiplicity, there is also degrees. You know, Allah creates in degrees. So this is why we see absences. So without, for example, without ugliness, apparent ugliness, we wouldn't know what beauty is. Without injustice, we wouldn't know what justice is. But ugliness and injustice don't really have an external existence. They're just absences of their complementary attribute. So this is why, and because human beings, we are immersed in this system, we also have one face that looks towards khair, and we have one face which is an active face which looks towards shar, because we are created. You know, we are created, and the very fact that we are created means, you know, Allah has made differences in His names, an apparent difference. So, you know, you may be very sabur, I may be very impatient. All of these absences and lacks and privations exist in our attributes as well. Also, misguidance can be very nice, seem very nice, you know. Sin, if sin wasn't attractive, no one would sin, right?
Yeah.
If going on the wrong path, even just for 1 minute of pleasure, wasn't pleasurable, then no one would do it. So those things are very attractive, and many people are very, very weak. You know, Allah says that most people don't believe, and those who do believe, most of them make shirk. So, you know, this is why you can see in society that it appears that shaitan and shayateen have the upper hand. But in actual fact, as you were saying before, you know, maybe 10 years after, 100 years after, you look back and say, well, you know, that had to happen. You know, even when the kuffar and the munafiqeen are fighting with each other, you know, there will be benefits from that as well. You know, Allah says in Quran that, you know, one community checks another community. You know, there are these checks and balances. So while there's lots of apparent evil in human society, not in the universe, but in human society, even that is mitigated by what Harun was explaining as, you know, the khair aspect of shar. In other words, shar which is not absolute. In fact, shar which is not absolute is actually khair. It just seems shar at the time. So yes, that was an answer to the question. Why does evil succeed at all? Because it has to. It has to, from a certain perspective. Thanks.
And I love this jigsaw metaphor. Actually, we can like take it further. It's like imtihan, you know, just we need to just put the pieces in place. That's the whole puzzle, you know. We are created to solve the puzzle. And in order to solve the puzzle, there should be this gaps, you know, to fit the pieces in, which we call share, you know.
Yeah, it's an amazing graphic. Mustafa, was that your choice?
No, this is to give the credit. I took it from Jezmavi. I guess he prepared it. I don't know
Oh,
exactly who
mashallah.
prepared it, but yeah, this is how it came about. Alhamdulillah, it's related to the topic. Yeah, Alhamdulillah, it's good. So the answer, let's read the answer here. The answer, the wisdom and the purpose is this. For the most part, misguidance and evil are negative, destructive, and pertain to non-existence. While in the great majority of cases, guidance and good are positive, constructive, repairing, and pertain to existence. So this is a clear um, step forward of how to define evil and
Even here it's interesting. It says most part. So Said Nursi is very careful with wording. So it looks like everything is on the face value. Like it looks misguidance mostly, but even misguidance has some existence in it, flavor of existence, which makes it higher actually.
yeah. And everyone knows that one man can destroy in one day a building made by 20 men in 20 days. Yes, although human life continues through the existence of all the basic members and conditions of life, and is particular to the all-glorious Creator's power, through severing a member, a tyrant may make the person manifest death, which is non-being in relation to life. The saying destruction is easy has, for this reason, become proverbial. So this is, clear. Destruction is easy and construction is difficult. If the people of misguidance cause some temporary harm, according to the verse, and the end is best for the righteous, everlasting reward and profit make up for the damage. And that impregnable stronghold, that fortified citadel, is the Sharia of Muhammad والسلام, and his practices. So this is quite clear answer. What would you say, Colin Hocam, about the answer here Ustad mentions?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Yes, I mean, going back to Harun also alluded to it, misguidance and evil, and I'm not sure what the original Turkish is, Ottoman is, are generally negative and destructive, and they pertain to non-existence, which means the
Dalalet
non-existence.
hocam, dalalet
Uh-huh.
beşer.
Yes, thank you. So yes, they are negative and destructive, and they pertain to non-existence. But as Harun said, this is a face value assessment. When you dig deeper and when you look for the nuance, it also lots of it pertains to existence. Um, and also in the vast majority of cases, guidance are good or positive and constructive and repairing. But again, nothing comes without its absence. So guidance and good are great, but also there is a relational absence there. So we have to be very careful. This is why we make isti'aza, is that we need Allah to be on our side because we are weak. And we know what we're capable of, right? We're not stupid. We know that what we're capable of. If you watch a child with a set of building blocks, painstakingly putting one block on the other, and then at the end, it takes maybe 5-10 minutes for him to build the tower, and then in 1 second he just bashes it down and destroys it. And we see this, in human society. We've seen it since time immemorial. It's easier to destroy than it is to construct. Destruction is easy because it's easier for us to make a dua for shar because we are more aligned to it because we are partly I don't want to say created out of non-existence, but we have so many absences, the notion that we are zalum and jahul, we talked about this quite recently. This means we have Actually, it's not negative at all. Being Jahul and Zalum, they're not negative. They're positive, because we have immensely huge cups to fill, right? If you see the Zulm and the Zalumia and Jahulia as cups, infinitely fillable cups, they can be filled with the names of Allah, understanding of the names of Allah, appreciation of the names of Allah, or they can remain Jahal and Zulm. And, this is how we are. So destruction is easy. We can't create anything. That's another thing. We can't actually bring things into existence. We can move things around, and we call it, manufacture, we call it creation, we call it industry, technology, science. We can move things around, but we can't create anything. But we can very easily destroy things. Even then, it is done through a dua, done through an inclination, and Allah is the one who actually creates the destruction, if you wish. But we are the ones who have that intention. And there's something in us which, if we're not careful and we don't make isti'aza, we are very likely to join, Hizb Shaitan and become one of them. Very easy.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much, Kolnojan. I guess I want to add some point here. Ustad mentions the Shu'unat Ilahiyya. I don't know how it's translated, maybe the essence of God or the works of God. Here, I want to allude to that. Allah wants us to seek refuge in Him. Allah created us deficient, right? And Allah created us, short-sighted, let's say, maybe. We easily get delusional and, lose our right perspective and take the wrong road and path, and we might not see the what is good and what is evil, to make that distinction, based on our ghafla, on our weakness, and we have to go back to Allah and seek refuge in Him. And it's also the manifestation of Allah's protectiveness, His power. He wants us to come back to Him, and refrain from all those evil as much as we can. If you don't do that, if you don't if we don't seek refuge in Allah, we can easily fall into that misguidance, because we are created that way. We are lenient to go to the misguided routes, I suppose. So this is very important. And there is a hand that's raised. Kadir Akbalık. Let's give
Yes.
him. Yeah.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
I also want to say something about this part. As far as I remember, there is a part in Risale Nur Ustad says that we are talking here the responsibility of the human being. For example, there is a garden example, and in that garden there is a person. His responsibility is open the water for that big garden to water it. So when person doesn't do his job, all of the things will be spoiled at the end of the story. So we understand that human being should take into consideration their jobs and should get their responsibility, because Risaleno repeatedly emphasized that to build something requires knowledge, power, wisdom, or balance or intention about something, but destroying is really easy. For example, if you want to destroy something, only absence or neglecting or a small act is enough to destroy something. And there are a lot of examples in Risale Nur that why is these things happen repeatedly. And also Ustad explains that the good things, khair, is active and creative. But when you look at the shar, the evil version, it's not like active, it's misusing something or absence of something that you have to do your responsibility, but you don't do that, or imbalance. So here, as Ustad mentions, when you do not do your job, the most of the things are spoiled at the end. And also here, how can we say that the destruction really spreads very faster, and how can I say that the result is really immerse if you compare with the doing something. Building something is really, it takes much times, but when you destroy it, it's in a very short time you can do that. Yes, thank you. I could say this one.
Thank you, Kadir abi. Thank you so much. I also want to, emphasize the things that both Harun Hocam and Colin Hocam discussed. Something that is about, for the most part, the phrase that is mentioned here, for the most part. I think it's related to our perspective, as you both suggested, and it just reminded me the story of Musa alayhi salam and Hizr alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam has his own perception of what is good and what is evil, and Hizr alayhi salam does things what some of the things that he does appears him to be evil, even though they are not, as a result, is evil, but actually they are good things. At the end of the story, Hızır alayhi salam explains what is the good and what is evil. It just reminded me that story as well. So I just wanted to, point it out. Colin Hocam, please, would you like to say something related to this?
No, I was just doing a thumbs up to what you were saying,
Okay.
because it was interesting with Khizr and Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam using his rational intellect,
Yeah.
and Khizr using his intuitive intellect. So different modes of intellect there, and of course both have to be together. And Musa also the fish and the river going to the sea, and all of these stories is about the fact that rationally lots of things we can't understand, and things which seem evil to us at the time because they're not rational. I mean, they seem to go against reason. But when you use your intuitive intellect and you understand, when all of the pieces of the puzzle, as Harun said, are put together, which is what we're here to do. Musa was saying these pieces don't fit, and Khizr was saying this is because you're not looking at it in the right way. You're not putting them in the right places. You become used to this rational, linear understanding, forward problem-solving way that we have, caught in this causal nexus, whereas the intuitive intellect is an ocean. And it doesn't work. It works on different along different lines.
Yeah. So we shouldn't be rushing into conclusions to make assessment of the situation, whether it is evil or good.
Absolutely. Tawasaw bil haq, tawasaw bil sabr. First, we have to understand the haq. We have to have sabr. In other words, there are some things which are haq which we can't understand until we apply various different modes of understanding to it. One very important mode of understanding is our intuitive intellect, the qalb, rather than just the rational intellect, which is a problem-solving tool. And when it comes up against something that it doesn't compute, such as the things that Musa saw, alayhi salam, when he was with Khizr, then he said, well, this doesn't make sense to me. This is crazy. Why are you doing these things? But actually, none of those things was irrational. Maybe it seemed so to Musa, but they weren't. And when Khizr put the jigsaw pieces together for him, then it became clear.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, may I add one more
Please.
thing?
Please, Kadir abi.
Here, as far as I also understand, that a true Muslim also shouldn't forget getting the responsibility. As in the example, as Ustad mentions, destruction is really easy. For example, as a Risale Nur students, and when you have a project about something to invite the people Islam and understanding the reality or explaining the principles of the Islam, if you do not get the responsibility in the correct time, it will be like the example of that, the farming, the watering, the farming examples. There are some specific times in our life that we have to get the responsibility of that, to explain the people the reality in the correct time. You do a project, everybody is responsible for that one, and one person doesn't do his job. So this is unacceptable. It is also, therefore, tahribat, destruction is really easy in this way, because one person doesn't do his duty and everybody is affected because of this. So therefore, we have to take it into consideration when we have to get the responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Kadir abi. Jazakallah. I also want to allude to the last sentence. There is an Arabic saying in the original text. It's translated into English, so it may not be very clear to the reader. It's the wal aqibatu lil muttaqin, everlasting reward and profit. And the end is best for the righteous. This is the phrase. It is, Ustad mentions in the Risale-i Nur. So based on this phrase, the end is best for the righteous. As a result, everlasting reward and profit make up for the damage. So we may fall short and make mistakes and go to the misguided road, but inshallah, as long as we are muttaqeen, the righteous ones, and try to go to the right path, inshallah, and we are we seek refuge in Allah, and try to be protected with the Sharia of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Inshallah, we will be saved from Satan's deceptions, I guess. So before move on, Harun Hocam, would you like to add something else on this?
Some examples came to my mind to understand the easiness of destruction. Maybe we can relate this to also faculties of us, right? Nature of us, like our kalb, our kalb is not as fast and as easy as nefs, lower soul. What I'm saying is, when you look at the entertainment sector, let's say movies, even different genres of movies, maybe let's take it from there. If there's kind of a comedy movie, but which is not really appealing to our minds and hearts, let's say, but it makes us laugh, let's say, or makes people laugh, you see that these are very popular, and this type of jokes and comedy just in a way spreads faster than, let's say, philosophical movies, philosophical genres, because philosophical genres requires you stop, think, contemplate, reflect upon. So some of our faculties are kind of lazier than others, maybe to say, sticks to easiness more than others. With our faculties condition, actually, we know that we are very delicate creation, and it is very important to know how delicate our faculties are. And obviously, since our environment is kind of sticking with useless stuff, and there's some useless things going on, right? So these useless things, some of our faculties will stick with that, and most likely it is easier. I mean, we have maybe more lazier parts than, constructing part, let's say, then we would even, willingly stick with our faculties that tell us that, okay, watch this comedy genre instead of this philosophical genre.
Yeah.
Read this fiction book that gives nothing, in terms of your contemplation compared to this piece, this novel work, So most likely we will be tempted to do that is easier, and usually the things that are not full, let's say, easier to stick with, and they serve distraction more than construction, looks like.
So do you suggest, if I understood it, our intellect gets lazy, and we judge things easily without further analysis of the real situation. So we shouldn't be relying on our intellect to judge things as evil as much as we do. Is that what you're saying also?
Actually, I'm just focusing on our faculties. Some of maybe on average or our average faculties, will just rely upon something easy, something which is destructive because destructive things are easy by
I
nature.
see. Okay.
Then, building up. It's kind of, I would prefer reading than writing, because writing requires you to produce something, whereas reading is easier, than
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Harun Hocam. So there are raised hands here. Let's start with Lion. Can you unmute your microphone, Lion?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Actually, this is good news that evil is temporary. Alhamdulillah, it's not permanent. It is very good news.
Yeah.
And since it is temporary, and also when we, as far as I understood, and the source of evil actually just lack of responsibility. So when we don't perform our responsibility, then evil starts exist. That's why it must be temporary. It means we always not neglect our responsibility. Sometimes we are maybe incapable or because of sins or regretful and forgetful, whatever it is. Sometimes we unfortunately neglect our responsibilities, and then all of a sudden evil puts into stage. So another point is sometimes we, even you, me, all here, we want to perform our responsibilities as much as we can, but even there are some things beyond us. For example, earthquakes, illness, death, and something like that. These are natural calamities, and also it is, or those are accepted as evils, source of evils. In this case, it is not lack of our responsibilities, but there is something that we cannot fulfill. So how can we explain this situation regarding evil problem? I mean earthquakes and such calamities. This is my question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Abi. So there is a question here. There is another raised hand. But before that, let's move on to our panelists. Would you like to address, so like earthquakes and wars, let's say, or something that's not related to human action? You have mentioned that this is related to our perception too, but it is registered in our intellect as evil, an earthquake or something like that damages people's lives. So how would we consider it? Is it really evil or not? What would you say, Harun Hocam?
I think we talked about, this relativity. So I was writing actually in the chat. I think evil is definitely conditional, relative, and relational. This three things: conditions, relative, and relational. So, and since my relation to earthquake is my life, I call it evil. And there's no problem with that. I'm not. I mean, when I say this is evil, I don't mean that. Hasha, Allah is bad, for me. He's treating me badly. I don't mean that. But I say that it's not good, my condition right now, and it just ruins my house. And for this immediate condition and for immediate consequences, I call it evil. But then, when I contemplate more, I can say that I know that there are many, many goodnesses under this earthquake. It just makes, minerals just spread, and it makes nature, more strong, it just helps habitat, many things. When I look at from this perspective, I say that it's definitely not evil, So at the same time, what I'm saying is at the same time, I can conclude that it is evil and I can conclude that it is not evil. And not necessarily evil means bad in this sense. So I think that's kind of, relational thing.
Thank you, Harun Hocam. Colin Hocam, would you like to add to anything about the question? You want to, address it?
I think Harun gave the perfect answer to it. Obviously, the creation of earthquake is not evil, but we perceive the lack and the injuries and the harms and the damages that occur to us personally. We consider them to be evil, but they're not actually. They're absences. It doesn't mean that they don't hurt and they're not injurious, and they're not detrimental to our health or to our existence even. But the creation of them is not evil. Our perception of them is what makes them appear to be evil.
Thank you. I guess also we are so much focused on the worldly life, and we lose focus about the afterlife. And we're not able to see the consequences that is related to everlasting life. We also fall short and make a judgment that's based on this worldly life, and I guess make a mistake about what is good and what is evil. So we need to conclude, but I want to, give a voice to Hikmet abi before we, finish the discussion for today. Hikmet abi.
But let's conclude it. I think it's time, really, inshallah.
Okay.
That I can, inshallah, next week I can say something.
Inshallah, inshallah.
So, all right.
Thank you, Hikmet abi. So I guess we have
Hi,
come to
Hikmet
the.
abi, it will be nice to hear what you're saying.
I was just gonna support a couple of things that I studied, like about the emotions, and the heart is coming from emotions, and intellect is mainly that different. So the emotions is more stronger than the intellect. Sometimes that people think about the youth group that they are struggling because that they are acting based on their emotions, feelings, compared to that they're a little bit older that we can just justify or try to understand what the evil things or Satan's actions clearly using our intellect compared to youth group, because that our heart is giving different feelings, emotions. Our intellect is giving completely different, and evaluating everything completely differently. And then our soul is also evaluating completely differently and everything. So just the supporting that I was going to give an example, inshallah, maybe next week, that I can give all three faculties that we have, the different examples, inshallah. Thank you, those.
Hikmet abi. Thank you. Inshallah. Let's inshallah continue next week from where we left off. Thank you all the contributors. First of all, Colin Hocam and Harun Hocam for their contributions.
Mustafa.
Thank you. It was a beneficial discussion again, as always.
Thanks for
So
moderating, Mustafa. Thank you very
no
much.
problem, no problem. So Cezmi abi, would you like to end with a dua, inshallah?
الله سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Oh Allah, increase our understanding of the Quran and the mysteries of the Quran, unfold to us, inshallah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.